What's up, Raider Nation? What's up, YouTube? Bubba the Raider here. Um, so I was just coming at you guys. The combine officially starts in like an hour or something like that. But no one will be on the field doing drills until Friday. Um, but anyway, I wanted to come to you guys with like a last minute um, recruit scouts to keep an eye on during the combine if you follow it, who I'm going to be watching, and I started making a list. And I made it like 15 names in or something like that. And I was like, this isn't going to tell you guys anything. Where my mindset is, if you care to know what I'm thinking, because I'm just listing off people that we all know, people we've all heard 100 times in like every single possibility at defensive tackle, linebacker, running back, and corner, and like a third wide receiver. Like we all know that that's what we need. So I stopped making this list, and I'm kind of gonna go off my head and things that I've seen so far. Again, I'm really starting to get into the scouting aspect of it, but I haven't done too much just yet. I usually start around the time of the combine, really breaking down film or whatever else. So, but from what I've seen, a couple names that I'm really interested in. Obviously, number one, Reuben Foster. It's a pipe dream. I'm hearing that he's going to go number two overall, which is actually what I have in my mock draft, the one that I put up. Um, but then there's always those rumblings that he may fall because of this injury or whatever else. He won't. It's a pipe dream, but it's still something to keep your eye on because that guy I think would be a savior for this team at middle linebacker. I really do. Um, and you never know. I mean, look at Shane Ray a few years ago, where like one stupid thing, and granted he's done multiple stupid things, but um, something between now and the draft process, maybe he falls with the injury. Maybe he doesn't interview well. I don't know. Maybe there's stuff that could be fixed. You never know. Shane Ray was supposed to go a top five pick a couple years back, and he like had like a gun and some weed and drove down the highway backwards at a high speed, and when he fell to where the Broncos picked him in the late part of the first round. So Reuben Foster, definitely there. Another one, and I know that this is, some people like it, some people don't. I just think, in terms of talent and potential, this guy is at the top of the list of every single prospect in this draft class, and that's Malik McDowell. Um, a lot of people, I think more than anything, I've seen him mocked to us, and I don't know if he'll be on the board. I haven't been able to figure out why. Besides the him taking plays off, and I talked about that and before, it's that's something that with the right locker room will go away, and this is the right locker room. So Malik McDowell is definitely number one. Another name that I'm really going to be keeping a close eye on and seeing what it looks like, who's been picking up a lot of talk, a lot of buzz, is Hassan Reddick. He's like a D end linebacker. They have him listed as an outside linebacker, but then I guess at the Senior Bowl he's playing Mike backer. Um, they have him, but he's from Temple, and he's going to be one that I keep a close eye on because people are thinking that he's going to be pretty freaking good, and he should be available right around the time we pick. So see what he looks like. Um, and of course you got Zach Cunningham, Gerard Davis, Raekwon McMillan. Those are all middle linebacker options because that's something we're going to need to address short of bringing in Donta Hightower, and I think he's probably going to get franchise tagged. And then, corner, Tease Tabor, Sidney Jones, Quincy Wilson, Marshawn Lattimore, and Marlon Humphreys probably will be off the board in the top 15 picks, depending. But, corner is another thing we need to address. Tre'Davious White, another one. I don't know if I just said that, but those are who I have in the first round. Nothing new there. Keep your eyes on those guys. I started getting into the later rounds, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to talk to you guys about what I've seen so far, which isn't much, and what I like. A lot of what I do early on in the process is I'll look at highlight videos. And if their highlight video is short or not really that exciting, um, that's supposed to be their best plays. And I know that that's not a given, but then, if they have a bunch of plays put together that I'm like, wow, this kid's good, then I start breaking down game by game film. And that's early on in the process. And that makes me kind of filter because I don't have time on one person to look at every single person. But that's kind of what I do. A couple guys I've really liked. KD Cannon, wide receiver out of Baylor. He looks so fast. He just looks deadly. He looks like someone that, and not many people are talking about him. He looks like someone that might be available round 3 and someone that we could potentially bring in to replace or to start over Seth Roberts. But I haven't watched a ton of his everyday film. I don't know how consistent his hands are, which is a big problem with Seth Roberts. Seth Roberts will drop the pass, 50% of the time or whatever. That's not really accurate, but like all the time he drops a pass, then he gets pissed off and he makes a game-winning catch, and like we all love him. And I like Seth Roberts a lot, don't get me wrong, but I think we need something else, another dynamic in there. So I think KD Cannon might be one. Another guy I'm really big on. I just got, like, literally while I was making this video, I got the notice that Adrian Peterson is going to be a free agent. Obviously, we would love that, but I don't want to overpay him. I would rather pay Gabe Jackson than Adrian Peterson to come in here for a couple of years and be pretty good or get hurt or whatever. So, and then you got Derek Carr and Khalil Mack, and Amari Cooper's going to have a contract coming up, and Mario Edwards Jr., and there's guys who are going to need a contract. TJ Carey, Justin Jelly Ellis, if we want to bring him back, which I think we should. He had an off year, but I like him. Good depth piece. But so if we don't go Adrian Peterson, I know Latavius Murray is set to test free agency. Okay. Yeah, so what? I like Tay-Tran, but not $6 million a year like him. One guy that I've been really big on is Brian Hill. Brian Hill, running back from Wyoming. Check him out. Watch him. Keep a close eye on him, and let me know what you think, because he's someone that I think looks pretty good. Another guy who is just plummeting, and I can tell why, but I think that the combine is going to be a real teller, is Zach Banner. He's an offensive lineman from USC. The dude is massive. He is huge. And being a Duck fan, I watched him. He was one of the guys that I watched, paid close attention to against Oregon. Granted, Oregon, especially this year, has no defense, no pass rush. It's awful. It's been awful. But he was just so big that it was just impossible to do anything against him. He's the first thing you look at when you look at that offensive line. I think he's like 6'8", 350, I don't know. He's huge, just huge. So some people are saying that he's undraftable, but at one point in time in this process, he was projected to be a first-round draft pick. So I think that this is going to be a teller of where he falls. You watch his feet, watch his mobility, watch his hips. Like that's going to be a big teller. So Zach Banner. You got Desmond King. I had to talk about him in my mock draft, my Raider mock draft. Jim Thorpe Award winner in 2015. I was looking at him last year for the number 15 spot where we took Carl Joseph or maybe a second round. I think that he could be good. He could be someone that if he doesn't work out at corner, you play some safety, but check him out. Another guy who I know Cameron Peace, I believe Cameron Peace said that he didn't care too much for him. I have to watch more film on him. But Caleb Brantley, he's a defensive lineman from Florida. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him. He's drawing some lofty comparisons, and I haven't watched enough film. We're not willing to say at all that he is this person, but they're saying he's, the NFL.com compared him, I think, to Aaron Donald. So If that would be true, that would be sweet. Um, but he's someone I want to look at, not for the first round. And if we go Malik McDowell, obviously we don't need it. I mean, maybe, I don't know. We don't need another one. Another guy that I've seen picking up some buzz is Jaleel Johnson. He's a defensive lineman from Iowa. I threw on a little tape of his this morning, and from the little bit that I saw, the dude can't, like, he's got no moves to get off the block. It kind of seems like he just tries to, like, shimmy away, and he's watching the ball, and he's not throwing in any swims or rips or anything like that. And it could have been, I only watched a few minutes. It could have been a bad few minutes, and maybe he's the best at that. Let me know if you know. If you're any Iowa fans out there, let me know, because I'm not an expert at this by any means. I think I've watched every round, or listened to, because one year I was with my best friend in Portland, listening to it on the radio when we drafted McFadden. But I've watched or listened to every round of every NFL draft since I was like 12, 13, 14, and I'm 26 now. So it's one of my favorite things. I used to sit with my dad and watch the draft, and I would take a notepad and just write who picked who. Now we've got the internet for that, but it was something that I loved to do. So now what I do is I take the Raiders. I'll show you. I haven't really started too much yet, but I take just like a couple notebooks. This one is offense. This one's defense. And I write down the Raiders' biggest needs. Usually their three biggest needs. So in offense, really the first three is wide receiver, running back, offensive lineman. Obviously, that's pretty much it. And tight end I put in there too. We're not going to take a quarterback, and really that's everything on there. And I just fill up a notebook with each page is a person in alphabetical order. That says Noah Brown. He's a wide receiver. And I'll write like their combine scores and what they weigh in, their hand measurements, all this kind of stuff. And then I will leave a bunch of room for notes on things that I see during the combine and things I see in their film. And then defense, same thing. Defensive tackle, linebacker, corner. I think that's pretty much all I have in this. One per page, front and back. And it's just something to like gather my thoughts, and maybe something that I can come to you if I see something I really like. Talk about more specifically about a player. And that's something I've only started in recent years. So that's kind of how I do it, and that's something that I really like. I love this process. I love being excited about what we could possibly get. So anyway, I'm paying position-wise, paying really close attention to the running backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends. This is a deep class at tight end. Defensive line, interior, especially when you need the pass rush. Linebacker, inside linebacker, and outside, apparently. I mean, I like Shalik Calhoun. I was really big on him last year. And he kind of didn't live up too much, and he got hurt. But I felt like when he played, he was decent. He was pretty good. And he's someone that I watched wreck my Ducks, and that's kind of what put him on my radar, was him just wrecking my Oregon Ducks. So, maybe he plays a bigger role if Aldon Smith doesn't come back, or, Malcolm Smith isn't back. There's so much to be said for free agency, which starts soon, and who you hear about the best player available, and I totally agree with that, and that's why I think Malik McDowell, if he's on the board, is someone that we need to take, because I think that he's gonna be better. But that's to a certain extent. If quarterback falls, we're not going to take a quarterback. We have Derek Carr, so it only goes so far. You know what I mean? for the best player available. You need to address your needs too at the same time. But that's also what the later rounds are for. So those are our biggest needs: linebacker, corner, defensive tackle. Running back is up there. We need a running back. But at the same time, we have a pretty good committee with the two, with Washington and Richard. I know that they're smaller and shiftier. But I love the way they run. I would just like a bigger power back, what Latavius Murray should be. Runs hard, not afraid of contact. Leonard Fournette is what I would love, but he's not going to be there, and there's bigger needs that we need to address. But I think that if we took a player, a really good example is the Cardinals last year took Robert Kimdiche, who I really liked, and he has done nothing for that team so far. And that's the risk you play, but what that kid could turn into, a perennial Pro Bowler, I just think I was pretty big on him, and I know a lot of people weren't. And if you weren't, let me know. Let me know why, what you saw that was different. But I see the same thing in Malik McDowell. The only difference is I haven't heard of the off the field issues with Malik McDowell like everyone heard of with Robert Kimdiche and his brother. So I just think that that's the kind of player, when you watch him and his explosiveness. I watched, who was he playing? He was playing some small school. Granted, it's a small school, but it took that smaller school 9.5 minutes to actually block him, to actually get their linemen to put two hands on him and slow him down. 9 minutes. And yeah, it's a smaller school, but some of those smaller school kids can ball. And I'm not saying that this kid couldn't or whatever else, but that's impressive. 9 minutes. So and they got a pretty solid block on him, and in the next play you could tell he was super pissed off, and he just blew it up for like a loss of 5. He's someone that I think his explosiveness and his ability rivals. I mean, people were saying rivals Myles Garrett. So I'm the more I watch, the bigger I am on him. Go watch Voch Lombardi. Watch his breakdown of Malik McDowell's film. Talking Ball talks about Malik McDowell. The issues there are not on the field. It seems like they're not on the field, and they're not off the field. I mean, it is on the field. The reason he's fallen is because he kind of gave up, and that's a red flag, like I said in my last video. But tell me he's going to give up with Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin in his face pushing him on, with Derek Carr coming up to him on the sideline, like with the leadership that we have, with these young guys that have turned into leaders who are the reason we went 12-4 this year. Tell me he's going to give up. He gave up because he was the only player on a defense, and the team was struggling and sucked at the end. Or I don't know if they sucked, but they lost hope. And when you're the only player on that team or on that defense, again, I said it in my last video, any Michigan State fans, I don't watch Michigan State ball all the time, let me know if I'm wrong. But I said that last time and no one said anything. So when you're the only player on that team and you don't have any hopes of going to the playoffs, and you're killing yourself every day to lose or whatever else, or to fall short of your ultimate goal, he's in your locker room's not strong. Their best players, Trey Waynes and Connor Cook and Shalik Calhoun, 2 of those 3 are on the Raiders. Like, when they leave, I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but I'm not saying that it's like unheard of that you will stop playing hard, especially when you know you're going to go to the NFL. You're going to make millions of dollars. You don't want to put your body on the line and risk that. I think that's the wrong mentality, me personally, but it makes sense that people do that. And I don't think that is necessarily indicative of what we're going to see in the NFL. So that's where I'm at with Malik McDowell. And I know a lot of people think that we need to go corner, and I would not be opposed to going corner. I'm so sick of watching Sean Smith get burned. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way we use our corners. And I'm not saying we don't need another corner. I think we really do. And I think that if we don't take a corner in the first, we need to take one in the second. Or, you know what I mean? And in the third. I wouldn't even be opposed to taking one in the second and one again later, like in the fourth or the fifth. But I really like Malik McDowell, and I think he can be just the difference maker on this team. Anyway, let me know what you guys like. Let me know what you guys see during the combine if you're watching it. I'll make some more videos of this as I'm scouting more and what I like. So anyway, just win, baby.